Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for May 21st, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savranti. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. Teddy, let's get right to it here and talk a little NBA action. As I come back from vacation, the Portland Trail Blazers are going on vacation. And if you watched each and every one of these games, it seemed like Portland could be up with a 4-0 sweep or at least winning a few of these games. Get right to it. Steph Curry drops 37 points in the Game 4 win. Overtime is needed, but the Warriors will be rested and ready, Teddy, with their fifth straight finals appearance. Pretty impressive.
Sure. And from a point spread perspective, this one's going to get graded as a push because it closed Golden State -2. And of course, the Warriors ended up winning by 2 in the extra session. Nail biter, whichever side you had there. But most people, and I should say most, 90+% of tickets that were written on the underdog in that ballgame cashed. Because, literally the last 15 minutes before tip-off, there was a late surge of money coming in on Portland, all wise guy money. And that pushed the line down to 2. But most people who took the Blaze were able to catch +2.5, +3, even +3.5 if they bet earlier enough. So not a great result for the books with the game landing on 2 and all of that wise guy Blazers money that had come in beforehand. But a bizarre series in a sense. I mean, the Blazers led for more minutes in the series than the Warriors did. That's a 4-0 Golden State sweep. Portland, the only team over the last 2 decades to lose 3 games. They led by at least 15 points, including Game 4. Heck, they led all 3 of those games by 17 points or more. Blazers had legit chances to win Game 2. They had legit chance to win Game 4. They just didn't hit shots when it mattered most. Damian Lillard's post-series quote, "It's the furthest that we played in the postseason. That's a little deeper water than what we've seen. It's a little bit more physically and mentally trying. The level of play is higher. There's a lot more on the line. Teams take their scouting reports and detail it to the next level. I think it was a great experience for us. I think we showed we're capable of being here and competing at this level, but it's definitely different." Well, that's a quote from a guy who just got swept out of a series as far as the Blazers have been in the postseason. But for what it's worth, Portland 2-2 ATS for most bettors in this series, not a disaster for Blazers backers.
Yeah, I mean, when you really watch the series, Teddy, especially in Games 4, I mean, you get Myers Leonard scores 25 points in the first half. You get 54 points combined from McCollum and Lillard in that game. And it almost seems like at the halftime, you expected the Blazers to be up more. But time and time again, Teddy, I mean, double-digit leads in the second half where you just have to ride it in. And Golden State just rode that wave all the way to finish. Says the sign of a championship team, but also looking forward, you're right with that quote that you just put on. Because, being swept in the first round. Now you're getting, advancing to the conference finals and getting swept. But it's kind of interesting all season for Portland, Teddy. Just take a minute to talk about, the mindset where you did get swept, yes, but you had a lead just about in every single game and a comfortable lead and let them slip away.
Well, I mean, that speaks something for the Warriors. The Warriors are a multi-3-time champion. This is now the 5th straight trip to the finals, obviously. Let's give Golden State credit as much as we're going to criticize Portland for falling apart with big leads in that game. And remember, the Blazers lost one of their big 3 late in the season with Nurkic, and Kanter came in and tried to fill his minutes, and Leonard obviously had a huge Game 3 and Game 4, but it wasn't enough for Portland. But there's hope for this roster in a lot of sense. Can the Blazers be back? Can they be contenders in the Western Conference again next year? With Nurkic back, Lillard and McCollum now having this experience, Rodney Hood certainly played well. There's hope for Portland. I don't know that the Western Conference Finals, one trip, is going to be as high as this version of the Blazers gets. They could do it again next year. They have that level of potential.
Yeah, it'll be interesting offseason there. Obviously, we know with all the big-name free agents. Let's talk a little bit of Major League Baseball here. Jake Arrieta returned to the friendly confines of Wrigley and ends up picking the win. I mean, obviously, Arrieta didn't get the win for himself, but the Phillies got the overall win. Standing ovation for Arrieta as he came up to the plate his first time around. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. The Phillies, Teddy, carried a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. Saw that disappear 4-3, but a fluke base hit by Gene Segura with 2 outs in the 9th inning pushes it to extra innings, and a 2-out home run by JT Realmuto into the left field seats was proving to be the difference. Nice win for the Philadelphia Phillies. Good teams win this way, Teddy, as we know.
Yeah, it was lucky. It was fluky. The single just over Rizzo's glove. Oh, and it ends up bringing the tying run in. And, of course, the total in this game got bet down from 8.5 to 8. You got a 3-1 game in the bottom of the 8th inning. Under's a lock. Oops. 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, 1 in the 10th. Over cashes the ticket. Extra innings is where unders go to die in MLB. That certainly happened last night with both bullpens showing vulnerability in the latter stages.
Yeah, some brutal beats there on the totals. We've seen it with the Dodgers and the Reds game as well. Moving on to a little bit of NFL action, 2019 NFL season preview. The 2019 New Orleans Saints stepping to the plate. A little bit painful there for the offseason for the Saints, but we'll go over and see what they have to offer. The Saints sit at 9-1 to win the 9-1 to win the 2019 NFL championship, 4-1 to win the NFC, and the Saints team total, Teddy, a hefty 10.5. Saints finished 2018, obviously 13-3, first place finish in the NFC South. Made it all the way, obviously beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. Then as we saw getting forward, oh boy, was that a tough loss there in the NFC title game where the Rams advanced onto the Super Bowl, only to lose to the New England Patriots. Pro Bowl center Max Unger does retire in the offseason, but they spend their first-round draft pick on picking up a center out of Texas A&M. Look, this is a good football team, obviously, as we know. Talented all the way around, great quarterback, great coach, great home field advantage. We'll see if it translates. But the one thing I do want to point out here, Teddy, the NFL doesn't really help you out if you're a really good football team the following season because it is a league of parity. First 4 games out of the gate, Teddy, Saints playing the Texans, Rams, Seahawks, and Cowboys, all playoff teams.
And it's it's a Saints team that has a history under Sean Payton of coming out of training camp not yet in midseason form. They've had more than their fair share of slow starts, which means that brutal opening slate could have some lasting implications as the season progresses. One thing that we like about New Orleans, man, there's continuity for the Saints. You know, the GM, Mickey Loomis, he's been there since 2002. The head coach, Sean Payton's been there since 2006. The offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael's been there since 2009. The defense coordinator, Dennis Allen's been there since 2015. The quarterback, Drew Brees, is his 19th NFL season. This team has the foundations in place for continued success. And of course, we look at what happened last year from a talent perspective. New Orleans can compete with anybody in the NFL. I don't think there's any question about it. You look at their season stats, they're impressive across the board, offense and defense. You look at what they did in the offseason, well, a couple of big pickups, Ben Watson at tight end, Jared Cook at tight end, replacing Ben Watson. You bring in Malcolm Brown from New England, certainly a defensive tackle that has a whole lot of potential. Latavius Murray coming in at running back. And then, of course, Nick Easton, who missed last year with a neck injury. He's supposed to be their new starting center, although the rookie, Eric McCoy out of Texas A&M, may well take that spot. But one thing worth noting for New Orleans, last year their depth was not tested. They were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL. That was last year. When you're top 5 in fewest games lost due to injuries and you have a veteran roster, you don't know that carries over 2 years in a row. I do worry about the Saints having depth concerns. Their stars are making a lot of money. I'm not convinced the quality depth is there if New Orleans isn't quite as healthy this year as they were last year. I'm not all that bullish on the Saints, and I'm not going to bet them over their win total.
Yeah, that's a tough win total. I mean, you got to get 11 wins in there to cash. Obviously, we know injuries play a big part in the NFL season. And, they only go as far as Drew Brees is going to take them, which he's been very healthy outside of the injury back in the day with the old San Diego Chargers. We finally get to say that there. But it'll be interesting to see, looking forward to what the Saints have to offer. Always a tough team to look out for. Overnight line movers, Teddy. SBRodds.com, the single best place on the internet to check out these line moves because they're moving all the time. And how about this? Chris Archer looking for a bounce back, but yet, Teddy, the market doesn't agree. How about those Pirates at home? And we see the Rockies getting a little bit of love. Opened up around a pick of -110. We're seeing a little bit of movement there in the Rockies' direction up to -120. If we take a look at the total at 7.5, it's Marquez versus Archer tonight.
Do the markets care about current form? They do not.
No.
And this is the ultimate example of that. Here's Colorado. They've lost 4 straight on this road trip. They're not playing good ball. They struck out 66 times in 48 innings. It's not been pretty for Colorado. Meanwhile, the Pirates just closed out their road trip, winning 3 out of 4 against the Padres. Clint Hurdle, very strong finish. I'm proud of the effort. I'm proud of the energy. The offense is starting to do some things that are significant as well. It was a fun trip for us. It was a good baseball trip. They won 7 out of 11 on that road trip. Day off yesterday, returning home. In theory, you say, hey, we like this Pittsburgh team. We don't like this Colorado team right now. The Pirates are supposed to be taking money, but the betting markets don't pay attention to current form. All they want to do right now is fade Chris Archer. Why? Well, Archer first started off the disabled list. Gave up 7 runs, 6 earned, and 3 2/3 at Arizona. Got bombed in that ball game. Now it's his second start back off the DL. The market's not convinced that Chris Archer is healthy. And if he's not, well, maybe that Rockies offense wakes up after striking out 66 times in the last 48 innings.
Yep, most people see Archer and say, wait a second, Teddy, I can get plus money with Archer at home. Where do I sign up? Buyer beware on some of these. Let's take a look at the Giants. The line moving again here versus the Braves. Second straight day, Braves and the Giants. Giants sitting around plus 100, a total of 8. Tehran versus Anderson. We saw it yesterday with a big market move. Didn't matter. The Atlanta Braves won. What's going to happen again today, Teddy? Same type of conditions.
You're not going to see me put my money on the Giants right now. Look, San Fran hasn't hit all year. 1 run again yesterday. They're ranked number 13 out of 15 NL teams in runs per game, number 13 in batting average, number 13 in on-base percentage, number 14 in slugging percentage, and number 14 in OPS. Only the Marlins, the hapless Marlins, are worse offensively than San Fran this year. That's not bet on material, especially with Tehran on the hill. He's been brilliant. His last 3 starts, he's given up, 7 hits and 1 run. He's not going to go 9 innings. The Braves bullpen behind him, however, has been noticeably better in recent weeks. But what do the markets do? They don't like Tehran's advanced metrics. And Sean Anderson, well, he's the young prospect. Where does the money go? Always, not always. Most of the time, it'll go towards the young prospect against the proven veteran, the tired old retread. We're seeing that again today.
Indians looking to Bauer on Tuesday, Teddy. Indians opened up at around a minus 140 here at SBRodds.com, but now coming down around to that minus 125, minus 126 range, depending on where you're shopping at. The A's and the Indians tonight, a total of 8.5. And we talk about advanced metrics. How about Bassett, Teddy? 3.37 Sierra and an XFIP of 3.35 coming in under the radar. But yet, here we go. The market moving in his direction. Just because you might not know that name, Teddy, doesn't mean he's not a good pitcher.
Well, I mean, Bassett's allowed a grand total of 7 runs in his 5 previous starts this season. He struck out 38 batters in just 32 innings of work. The A's bullpen behind him in solid shape tonight. A series of strong starting pitching efforts, then a rainout on Sunday. And Trevor Bauer, he's going through one of his rough stretches right now. We've seen that, from Bauer. When he's on, he's on. And when he's not, he's not. Well, his last 4 starts, he's given up 21 runs in 24 innings of work. He's struggling with his control. He's struggling with home runs allowed. That's a bad combo. And let's not forget that Indians bullpen behind him got hit hard last night. Cleveland's offense, we think about Cleveland pounding the baseball. Well, they're betting against the Indians' offense right here. Cleveland ranked number 26 out of 30 big league teams in OPS for the full season. That's not where the Indians have been in recent years.
Watch what you bet here on That Betting Show with Donnie and Teddy. Taking a look at the Raptors, looking to even that series at 2, Teddy. But hey, we saw the game last time out. A late dunk in that game by Kawhi Leonard, maybe flaring up that leg injury. If we take a look today, and you're looking at the markets at SBRodds.com, open up at -2, -1, depending where you're shopping at. Now sitting as high as -3 across the board with a total of 217.5. The Bucks are 28-16 against the number on the road this year. 31-15 straight up, however, on the road. If we take a look at the Raptors here, Teddy, 23-26 against the number at home. 38-11. We saw some of the changes that Nick Nurse made, put Kawhi on Giannis. Seemed to help out a lot. But once again, this guy has logged a ton of minutes. Clearly the best player on Toronto here. Can he keep it up? And can those Raptors top the series, Teddy, 2-2?
Well, I mean, you ran Milwaukee's numbers. The most important number for Milwaukee is Milwaukee off a loss this season. Their longest losing streak of the entire season is 2 games. They went 22-1 straight up off a loss from day one this season. 19-4 against the spread in this role. That's worth noting, okay? And the market has certainly noted it, obviously, with Toronto as chalk in Game 3, now Milwaukee as chalk in Game 4. And, we've seen the Bucks lose once previously in the postseason. They bounced back the next game with a 21-point blowout. Can Milwaukee win on the road? Yeah, they won 4 of their 5 previous road games here in the playoffs, all by 7 points or more, mind you. And we look at what happened on Sunday night. Milwaukee just missed shots, a bunch of them. Eric Bledsoe only 3 of 16. Chris Middleton only 3 of 16. Mirotic was cold. Ilyasova was cold. You don't win a lot of road playoff games shooting 37% from the floor, 31% from three-point range. You miss 11 free throws. The starting five, just 19 of 69. Milwaukee has a better game in them. The question is, does Toronto have a better game in them? Because, quite frankly, it's a Raptors team that hasn't played a good game. They won in game 3. They still didn't play a good game. The supporting cast around Kawhi has been limited. The Siakams of the world, the Gasols of the world. And again, the stats are there. You watch them on the floor. There's a little bit of tentativeness for the Raptors, especially when it comes to taking open shots, which is something of a concern. Now, defensively, they did something very, very right. Giannis held to 12 points on 5 of 16 shooting. Of course, he did have 23 rebounds, but he fouled out in that ball game. Kawhi's quote, pretty much everyone just has to be ready to step up. And like I said before, one man can't guard him. It takes the whole team, and that's what we did. Everybody stepped up, took the challenge, and just wanted to guard him. Points were hard to come by in game 3, and it ended up going over the total thanks to double overtime. I'm not convinced this game's going to have 2 OTs. I wouldn't be betting this one over the total.
We'll talk a little bit more NBA action a little bit later in the show here, setting up the next series and how long those Warriors have a break. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But Cubs-Phillies, ESPN game of the night, Teddy. Cubs favored by as high as -40, looking at SBRodds.com right now, sitting right around that mid-130s range, a total of 7.5, which means, Teddy, at Wrigley, that wind is blowing in. The Phillies are 28-19 on the season, 10-9 on the road. The Cubs are 27-18 on the year, 15-7 at home. Eflin versus Quintana, pretty good pitching matchup that we have lined up here. Phillies getting the bounces go their way last night. Did the Cubs counter today? We'll see.
Yeah, Quintana's put up solid numbers in his last couple of starts. 3 runs and 4 hits against the Brewers, 6 2/3. Last time out, 3 runs and 6 hits in 5 innings against the Reds, although that game was played in a steady rain, and Quintana ended up, 2 consecutive wild pitches because he couldn't grip the ball that allowed Cincy to tie the score in that contest. But the bottom line is Quintana, who had some issues earlier on, appears to have solved some of those problems. Of course, Eflin's been pretty good, too. He had 3 straight dominant starting. Last time out, got hit hard by the Brewers after allowing just 2 earned runs over 20, his previous 25 innings of work. His quote after the game, just have to be better. I just got to show up better prepared to execute the game plan. Didn't really do a good job of that. These next 4 days leading up to my next start, I'm going to work hard, study, and get back on the right track. You talked about the wind blowing in. You talked about these potentially being 2 bet-on starters. Not going to catch me betting this one up and over the total, even with both bullpens in questionable form, each pen getting hit hard last night.
Dodgers, rare appearance, Teddy, here in Tampa, heading down to the Dome. We're going to have one of those openers tonight, but the one guy that's certainly going to open for the Dodgers, that is Clayton Kershaw, 7:10 tonight Eastern time. That's going to be on MLB Extra Innings Package. Dodgers 31-17 for the season, 12-11 away. The Rays are 27-17 on the season, 12-10 at home. Kershaw versus Wood to open. Looks like Beeks is going to come in behind him here, Teddy. But if we take a look at SBRodds.com, sitting on some of these numbers right now, opened up around that -130 range. Not a lot of movement, but we do see some outlets here at -145. And we do see a total across the board, Teddy, at 8. Dodgers down in the Dome.
Yeah, and, Tampa's got to bounce back here from another rough series against the Yankees. They lost 2 out of 3 of the Yanks at home. They went up to the Bronx this last weekend. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Yankees on the road, including a blowout loss on Sunday. Kevin Kiermaier following the defeat. It's another eye-opener for us, or call it whatever you want to call it. It's just like, hey, don't be satisfied because we're in these games. We have to win these games. We got to find better ways to do that. Not going to be easy, obviously, against Kershaw, although he's been vulnerable in May. 4.58 ERA this month, 5 home runs allowed in his last 3 starts. But did the Dodgers win for Kershaw? Yes, they've won his last 14 consecutive starts dating back to last season. His quote, "You're not going to always have your best stuff. You're going to give up home runs at times, but that's the beauty of being on such a good team. The way we're going to score runs." I wouldn't disagree with that. Hunter Wood hasn't given up a run yet this season, but of course, the Rays lead the major leagues, the only team in the majors with an ERA under 3. All that being said, the Dodgers lead the National League, 249 runs scored going into this Tuesday night affair.
Powerful offense there, Teddy. Off the mic segment today. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA action. Even though we have one series winding down, one possibly just heating up, it's always nice to take a look at what's going to happen in the next stages there. Obviously, we know the Golden State Warriors, Teddy, fifth straight appearance in the NBA Finals. They're going to have an extended break, which is really going to help them out. The one thing we saw last week, Teddy, was when they talked about Kevin Durant saying maybe the injury is worse than we let on, whether or not he comes back. But DeMarcus Cousins looks like he's primed and ready for a return to the Finals. The question I have for you here is when we're taking a look, obviously the series is 2-1 with the Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks. And we're looking forward and saying, you know what? If we look at the Golden State Warriors right now sitting at a minus 180, is there a time, Teddy, for yourself that you say, you know what, tonight, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to seize this series. I'm going to get some good value. Or is it more important to wait to see what's going to take place tonight before betting the next round? But also, let's take a look. This is a full 10 days off. We are human beings. When you get that long of a layoff there, sometimes you don't return all that sharp there. It's an interesting dynamic that's going to take place in the finals, but it should be an interesting one to watch here, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, the Golden State Warriors have an advantage in being that they've done this before. They've had layoffs. They've had sweeps in the Western Conference Finals. So more than your average team. When you're making your fifth straight trip to the finals, you've dealt with all kinds of situations. And I would expect Golden State to be better dealing with an extended layoff than most teams. All that being said, the Warriors sweep, that absolutely puts pressure on the Bucks tonight. You know, the one thing Milwaukee does not want to do, and potentially Toronto as well, but the Raptors are happy to get there. The Bucks are up 2-1 in the series, and the last thing the Bucks want to do now is allow this series to get back to 2-2, and then you're going at least 6 and maybe 7 games, and the Warriors are rested and ready, and Milwaukee gets a little bit gassed. That certainly puts extra pressure on the Bucks tonight. But what does that mean for Toronto? You know, hey, Toronto just it's not like the Raptors are going to lay down. Worth noting, the look headline for Raptors Warriors should Toronto win 3 of the next 4 in this series would be Golden State plus 300. The market's clearly viewing the Bucks as a tougher challenge for the Warriors than the Raptors would be. And frankly, I don't disagree with that assessment.
Back in the saddle here, Teddy, after a week off. Thank you so much for holding down the fort last week. It was much appreciated. I needed that break there. But that'll do it today for That Betting Show, May 21st, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Once again, give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. We'll be back tomorrow to go over the carnage or see if we have a commanding lead for those Milwaukee Bucks. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Cash those tickets tonight, and good luck.